Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. I trust that you are well this wonderful Monday morning. Let's get started. Right now, there was a straw poll at a Turning Point USA convention, and surprise, surprise, Trump won 87% of the vote. You know, there are those on the right who are trying to do what the left has been doing for a long time. We saw it through Obama and we saw it through Clinton. Um, they're trying to develop what I'll call an air of inevitability, whether it's true or not, doesn't matter. Just trying to get this sense of inevitability, the sense of inevitability that Donald Trump will be the nominee. That they don't even know why we're even going through the primary process. They're so enamored and loyal to Donald Trump that they don't even know why anybody would challenge him. I don't think that that's a good thing. If you're really concerned about the Republic, if you're concerned about the deep state, if you're concerned about all of these things that you say you're concerned about, I think behaving like the only person in the world who can save you is Donald Trump is a bad idea. So it's the wrong mentality. But here we are. But during an appearance on this week's broadcast of FNC's Media Buzz, Governor Ron DeSantis, Republican from Florida, candidate for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, denied a claim made by his primary opponent, former Governor Chris Christie. Christie and DeSantis and other GOP primary competitors just danced around out of fear of offending former President Donald Trump and his supporters. DeSantis told Fox News Howie Kurtz that he was not looking to engage in an insult game with Trump. Now, here's the deal. Trump's game is insult, go after, insult, attack. Now, what's interesting is, I think, what's interesting is that what former President Trump isn't doing is attacking President Biden to this. I mean, with the same vitriol, with the same energy. I wonder why that is. I don't do insults, so that is true. I just think getting into this insult game turns voters off. It's not something I want to do. Substantially, I've been very frank about our differences with respect to the former president. I mean, for example, he promised to drain the swamp. It got worse. He did not drain the swamp. He promised to have Mexico pay for a border wall. They did like 50 miles of wall. There's a massive, expansive still there. He said he was going to eliminate the national debt. They added almost $8 trillion to the debt in 4 years. Now, what's unfair about that statement is that COVID hit. So the national debt slam is kind of an unfair thing. But, it was increasing before then too. But when you want to give everybody their due. And yeah, the whole wall thing, the swamp thing. I mean, if you just look at and Trump admits it, that if he made a mistake, it was the people that he had in his cabinet. He had swamp monsters all over his cabinet, either swamp monsters or people like Steve Bannon advising him who, you know, it was a CF for sure. And of course, in 2020, he turned the country over to Dr. Fauci. Trump. Now, when people say that Donald Trump wasn't a politician, I think they're wrong because COVID turned Trump into a politician. What Trump knew was that he could not just kick Fauci off the stage because that was damaging. That would damage him politically. It was already treacherous territory. Every time the death toll number, the death bell was rang on CNN. It was one more. It was more ding in Trump's armor, and that he would be blamed for every single death, whether it was his fault or not. And I think Trump knew that. Um, so so um, he continued to let Fauci do whatever Fauci was doing. Now, forget that Fauci was one of the reasons that so many people died during the beginning of the AIDS crisis, HIV crisis, and that's the truth. I mean, when certain medicines weren't allowed uh, as part of the treatment to prevent pneumonia, people died. People died, strangely enough, of pneumonia, like like COVID. People died of pneumonia. Anyway, so that's a problem, and that's a fair criticism. And there were lockdowns and the borrowing and printing of money that sent us on a bad course. It, he said, I've been very frank about all of that, but I have no interest in attacking Donald Trump or any of these other candidates personally. I think that we've got to rise above that. Let's focus on the issues. Something that we've said here at Fight Back Media. It's like we have to start just looking at policies. This idea of personalities. I was frustrated as heck when the main criticism I heard about Dr. Ben Carson was he's boring. Not trying to elect a prom king. We're trying to elect the smartest person to lead the country forward. And someone says he's boring or he's too short. He doesn't look presidential. Republicans, so-called conservatives, what the hell is your problem? It's the ideas. Now, the disadvantage that Trump has is that he has a presidential record. He has promises, big, boisterous promises. Some of them delivered, some of them not. And his problem, his liabilities are promises made and the promises not met. And there may be very good reasons why some of the things didn't happen. And there may be reasons why, may not be good reasons why some things didn't happen. Incompetence may be a reason why certain things didn't happen. Over promising. What have we all learned as grown-ups? Under promise and over deliver. Something obviously Donald Trump has not done. Drain the swamp. First of all, what the hell does that mean? What does that mean? Can you? Is it possible? Is it possible? Give Trump his due. Trump exposed that there is a swamp to start with. And there is. Maybe people didn't realize it. Not people do. Maybe Trump will never be able to drain the swamp because they can see him coming. Folks, let's just get to a point where we're voting before we start declaring a winner, before we start, um, declaring a king, coronating a king. Let's not do that. What do you say? What do you say? I think that's probably a really good idea. Now, Chris Christie, on the other hand, has somehow decided, I don't know, that throwing rocks and insulting a former Republican president is his way to the nomination. So, former Governor Chris Christie from New Jersey, a candidate for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, said Sunday on CNN, State of the Union, that former on CNN, that former President Donald Trump was a liar and a coward, a personal attack, for claiming he is being indicted for other Republicans. At a campaign rally, Trump said, "Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it to be a great badge of honor and courage. I'm doing it for you. I'm being indicted for you. Better me than you," right? So anchor Jake Tapper, who I thought was quitting, said, "Great badge of honor and courage. Better me than you." What do you make of that? Christie said, "He's a liar and a coward. He's a doo-doo head." So Chris Christie wants to decide that he's just going to call Trump a doo-doo head. And now we're back to that. Anyway, Christie said he's a liar and a coward. He's not indicted for anyone other than because of his own conduct. There's no other of the 200 million Americans he spoke about who illegally retain classified national secrets after being politely, quietly, and professionally for 12 months asked a voluntary to turn their back over to the White House. Well, yeah, there is. Most certainly there is. There's Barack Obama. There's Joe Biden. There's Hillary Clinton. And every president in the modern era, Chris Christie. Look, he's indicted because of his outrageous conduct. Who does he sound like? It sounds like to me that Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney and Jeb Bush decided to look at Chris Christie and go, let's ask Chris. Let's ask Mikey. He'll do anything. And they pushed him forward. And now we have this sort of back and forth going on, not really talking about anything of any substance. This whole thing that catches people's attention isn't about any substance, really. It isn't. It isn't about policy. It's not about COVID lockdowns. It's not about inflation. It's not about what's going on in the culture. It isn't. It's about Chris Christie thinks that he can be a bigger bully than Donald Trump. I think that's problematical, don't you? Speaking of culture, cycling's governing body. Now, this is cycling. Cycling's got to be the dirtiest sport, drug wise, in the world, easily. It's got to be. I mean, because if you ain't cheating in cycling, you ain't trying. You thought NASCAR was bad. Everybody, I mean, maybe how the cyclists have their sponsors on their shirts. They should have like Moderna and Pfizer and anybody who produces steroids. They should have on their shirts. Just screw it. Just go for it. But on Friday, Union Cyclists International, the governing body for professional cycling, announced that transgender athletes will be banned from competing in all international women's events going forward. In a statement, UCI specified that male-bodied athletes who believe they are transgender will not be able to compete against women if they went through transitions after male puberty. So after But once they've decided to, after male puberty, that I feel like a woman. Sorry. From now on, female transgender athletes who have transitioned after male puberty will be prohibited from participating in women's events on the UCI international calendar in all categories. In the various disciplines, the organization said in a statement, adding it was necessary to take this measure to protect the female class and ensure equal opportunities. The decision came after a meeting where the governing body found that the current state of scientific knowledge could not guarantee that biological females and men undergoing hormone therapy treatments were on a level playing field. Of course they can't, because they're not. Given the current state of scientific knowledge, it is also impossible to rule out the possibility that biochemical factors such as the shape and arrangement of the bones in the limbs may constitute a lasting advantage for the transgender athlete, for the dudes. Well, of course. In May, we talked about how the UCI defended its previous policy that allowed transgender athletes to compete against women. I think we talked about that here on the program. Following the backlash, the organization has backtracked that statement. This came after a biological male cyclist who identifies as a transgender woman, this dude, won a women's race in North Carolina, beating the second place finisher by 5 minutes. Now, that is 5 minutes is an eternity in professional cycling. The athlete, Austin Gillips, 27-year-old, reportedly surged ahead his competitors shortly after the start of the race. Before this, we covered how Gillips took home the overall win in the women's category in the Tour of the Gila race in New Mexico. This instigated an intense backlash toward the organizers of the event. Michael Engelman, director of the Tour of Gila race, spoke out against the Union Cyclists' policies allowing transgender athletes to compete against women. Engelman said, "This could kill the sport." In an interview he did with The Telegraph, he added that he received threats after reports broke out that Gillips won the race. "I know how hard it is to get people to put money into a women's team at any level," he added. And now they're asking, is there something I can touch? What if an athlete says the wrong thing? This is harming the sport. It's a reality that someone has to speak about. UCI is now following the footsteps of FINA, the world's governing body for swimming, after the controversy surrounding Will Thomas at Penn. FINA announced its decision to ban transgender athletes from competing in women's elite events. We talked about that before. This, I'll tell you what, being here in this country, we are very, very U.S. centric here. And of course, sometimes you think that these things are only happening here. The fact of the matter is they're happening all over the world. Something's up. This is happening everywhere, not just here in the United States. This is not just a push by Ron DeSantis or Republicans or conservatives or even Christians. This is a very, very insidious thing happening around the world. And it's good to find out that some of these international sports organizations, which I think are also some of the most corrupt organizations on the planet. Tell me FIFA isn't as corrupt as anything you've ever seen. I'll fight you on that. Right? Now they're starting to see this stuff is so corrosive. to everything it touches. This transgender nonsense is so corrosive. Everything it touches. There's got to be pushback. And they'll be screaming and yelling and gnashing of teeth. But there's got to be pushback. There has to be. Has to be. Folks, stay tuned to the Morning Report here on YouTube, and on Rumble and every other podcast platform there is, because big changes are coming. It's about time that you become more than a watcher. It's about time that you become more than a listener. It's about time that you become a contributor, not money-wise. If you are interested in certain stories and certain storylines, especially where you live, and you're willing to do just a little bit of work as you're building your platform and the like, go to fightbackmedia.com, 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 and join the Fightback Media team. Scroll down. We need your email address, your name, and Paul and I will get to you, and we'll have a conversation about how you can contribute to Fightback Media, to its content. We're not asking for money. Stop, full stop. We're not asking for money. In contributions, we're asking for stories. We're asking for blogs. We're asking for vlogs. We're asking for clips. If you need a way to distribute those clips, video clips, audio clips, interviews you've done with local officials, corruption that you have found, that you've uncovered. We'd like to help you in this. But the first thing you need to do is go to fightbackmedia.com, 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 and join the team. Let us know what you're up to. All right, we got to get out of here and make room for somebody else. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody. And for goodness sake, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.